Today, on the Vince Everett Ellison Show, I'm going to prove to you and alleviate all doubt that Democrats hate America. Yeah, the Democratic Party is a party that hates America. Not Republicans and not independents, but Democrats. And we're going to talk about that today, and I'm going to show you the proof on the Vince Everett Ellison Show. So this is not a happy thing to say. Especially on the 4th of July, where we're celebrating the day that America declared its independence from the king and said that you cannot give us our rights. That's what we said. Our rights are unalienable. They're irrevocable, non-transferable, and unsellable. And it changed the world. At that time, we were an experiment. The only country in the world that had ever decided to do something like this. They said that the citizens' rights came from God, not from the king, not from the government. That the government was set up by us to help us secure these rights. But it's our rights. The government was supposed to assist us in this matter. And other nations all over the world looked at the American experiment, and they saw that in 100 years we were the most powerful country almost in the world after declaring ourselves free. All these other countries have been running around for 6,000 years over in Europe and Africa and Asia. But they allowed themselves to be controlled by kings and shoguns, chieftains that kept them under control until they had their right came from them. We said no. Our Christian principles have told us that our rights are given us by God because Jesus Christ said He has freed us. Amazingly, that there are American citizens here who are beneficiaries of this gift, who live in the most abundant country in the world, but they hate the country. Gallup polls control a lot of them. And interestingly, they say that there are people in a certain party that despise this country. They call them Republicans, they call them Independents, they call them Democrats. This is what they say. If I was come to Republicans and ask, are you extremely proud to be an American? 90% say yes. When they talk to independents, 71% of independents say yes. And when they talk to Democrats, only 29% of Democrats say they're proud to be American. Listen to me here. 29% of the Democratic Party. I told you, and I've been telling you for years, that they hate this country. That this is maybe the 4th time they tried to destroy it. They tried to destroy it with right before the Civil War, with all of the nullification crises and threatening to leave it before the Compromise 1850, the Missouri Compromise. They were always threatening to destroy this country. Then, of course, the Civil War, they actually tried to destroy it. Picked up arms and killed over 600,000 Americans, $3 trillion worth of damage to destroy it. And then Jim Crow, they let you know they did not believe in the Constitution. They are with the 13th Amendment. They are with the 14th Amendment. They are with the 15th Amendment, give you a right to vote. They didn't care. They were Americans in name only. And when you ask them about the Constitution, the Constitution, the hell with the Constitution. And black men not willing to pick up arms and defend themselves, which is their right by themselves, went up to the north and they made their right policy. Yeah, violence. So I said the civil rights is non-violent. No, it wasn't. Non-violent movement was a movement that changed the heart and mind of the American people. When you turn to law, all political power comes from the barrel of a gun. But when they went to Washington and said, hey, we need to change the law, they were asking the federal government to enforce what they wanted. And that is what came with prison time. But if they came to pick you up and go to jail, they'd be killed. They're afraid to enforce it themselves. So rights exist. But someone had to enforce it, and they wouldn't do it. So they laid down, got themselves beat up. Unlike George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and black men in the American Revolution, they started to lay down, get beat up until somebody else came. And that's why they don't have the damn thing today. But I digress. So these same losers now hate America. Because the man said somebody told them, look, man, we tired of coming out here and fighting y'all. You guys are ending up in these men. What do you mean? They tell your family, defend your rights. Stand up. These little LGBTQ community want the government to come out and fight for them. Come down and act like, oh, weird, shaking their asses in people's faces. And then when folks look, man, you have to go home with that. They want to call the police on you.
It was not about shutting down pride.
Philadelphia Police Commissioner Kevin Bethel is speaking out tonight after his officers faced criticism for how they responded to pride events that took place over the weekend. Videos posted to social media show a heavy police response to pride celebrations along 13th Street, with crowds confined to sidewalks with barricades up, with the streets open in the neighborhood.
Part of our duties is to support events. We don't run the events.
Bethel says his office did not plan on events in the neighborhood because the Pride Parade was moved to the Parkway this year. He says after the parade, crowds started moving in that direction, and police had to start moving resources as well. As the crowd swelled, police say kids started taking over streets, some jumping on cars. And fights broke out. At this point, the decision was made to move the crowds out of the area.
Listen, that is not pretty. It is not pretty when you move people.
It resulted in 14 arrests. Now, Bethel admits mistakes were made in the planning process. He also says there is an ongoing investigation into at least 5 officers who are wearing a mask, which is against policy. But he insists the actions over the weekend were not targeted the LGBTQ community.
We are an organization that has evolved. No one walked out of the door on Pride Day with any intentions to minimize our LGBTQ plus community or any community. That is not who we are.
You want to go into schools and molest the children. Yeah, people say, well, I don't care, you know, if grown folks do as long as they're bothering the children. They're going to always bother the children. Always. They coming back again, and they coming after your children because they're crazy. You don't give crazy people access to your children. There are 3 types of gender. 3. Male, female, and crazy. Got it? Male, female, and freaking insane. Those are the 3 genders. And to me, there's only 3 pronouns. Leave me alone. Those are mine. 3 words. Leave me alone. And that's America. Leave my children alone. Leave me alone. Keep your sexual proclivities to yourself. I don't want to hear them. Come around me to tell me how you get down with somebody. You pervert.
Unfolding outside LAUSD headquarters today as the school board met for the first time in the new school year.
Yeah, the protesters were part of the same groups who have shown up at school board meetings for months across SoCal. We've shown them to you. They're demanding that schools limit what is taught about the LGBT community. Tom is here to give us the latest.
As you said, tense at times there outside of the rally there. We spoke with one of the main organizers of today's protest. He says school districts and the state are infringing on parents' rights by teaching about certain LGBTQ issues. This is the leaders are pushing back, saying tense protest just outside of LAUSD headquarters as the school board met for the first time in the new school year. The LAPD was called in to secure the area. On one side, parents and activists demanding more control over school curriculum, and on the other side, parents supporting the rights of LGBTQ students.
We don't want them teaching our kids ideologies. We definitely don't want to hold parents. That's exactly what's going on in California.
Inside the meeting, LA School Board President sending a clear message.
We don't have the luxury of just rolling our eyes about these people. This is sustained hateful rhetoric. Ours is a district that includes and values all children, no matter ethnicity, immigration status, gender identity, socioeconomic status, racial or ethnic background, or the neighborhood they live in.
Outside, the protests turned ugly, with police forming a skirmish line and making 3 arrests, including this one where it appears 2 people were tackled after defying officers' commands. The activists, who say they are for parental rights, have been showing up to school board meetings across Southern California since last spring, with scenes of violence happening outside some of those meetings. In the evening, we spoke with one of the organizers of Tuesday's protest, Manute Gregorian, about the mission of his group called Leave Our Kids Alone, which has been at multiple protests over the course of the past few months.
My children, my choice, my way, bottom line.
Gregorian says his movement is made up of parents who want education about the LGBTQ community limited.
It should be up to me to explain to my children how 2 daddies work, how 2 mommies work.
They need kids in school with 2 mommies and 2 daddies, right?
Yes, if that happens, if my children want to see this look, it's something, if you see it in the streets, like 2 daddies are walking with a girl, it's something, that's different.
LAUSD and other districts make clear that by simply acknowledging the existence of LGBTQ people, there is not a sexual component. District leaders say they are simply being inclusive.
Here, haters will never win. Not in LA Unified.
But anyway. So, 29% of these perverts and miscreants don't like America. And that makes sense to me. Because a pervert and a miscreant cannot enjoy a Christianized country. They're supposed to hate America, man. If they liked America, there'd be a problem. But here's the interesting thing, y'all. In 2001, 25 years ago, quarter of a century ago, 85% of Democrats said that they were very proud to be Americans. 85 years ago. What has happened since then? I'll tell you what happened since then. 3 words. Barack Hussein Obama. Oh my goodness, that devil came up in here. He used the Oval Office to tell everybody how messed up America was. Every child that came after Obama hated this country. Every child that came after Obama. So if you're around 35 years old, yeah, you hate America, you're a Democrat. Because Barack Obama told you to. Well, Joe Biden got the end. So he didn't Joe Biden took that one. He sucked. Think about a hand gun. Then you got the LGBT because, people don't give them access to their children. Don't allow them to get sex change operations. They go up in churches, stripper poles and liquor. They don't like that. And then you got the ladies. We don't give them enough government aid. It costs you about $50,000 a year to keep one of them poor. Yeah, with public education, with food assistance, Section 8 housing, free medical care, yeah, it's about $50,000 for each one of them. So in a household of 4, it's about $200,000. So they can stay poor. And they don't ever say thank you. Never any gratitude. Always, we want more. Can never be trusted.
I want you to know that I am more offended as an African-American woman than you will ever be.
The chronic victim can never be trusted.
The reason we could never be who we wanted and dreamed of being is you kept your knee on our neck. We could run corporations. and not hustle in the street, but you had your neon out there. We had creative skills. We could do whatever anybody else could do, but we couldn't get your knee off our neck.
The chronic victim can never be trusted.
It's a cruel jest to say to a bootless man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps.
Stay on your knees. Stay on the plantation, boy. I decided to be a free man. Slave's the choice. So this is an opportunity for us young United States of America to deal with what I call the ignorant, the crazy, and the evil Democrats. I've told you before, 80% are ignorant. An ignorant person, you might get help. You teach them something, you might get help. But there's a small percentage of them, maybe about 20% of the ignorant you can help. So that 80 is about 20-30% of that 80 you can help. Those are the smart ones who've been given bad information, and when they get good information, they say, what? I've dealt with those before. It's interesting to talk about it because they'll sometimes keep me out and they'll ask questions. They're the ones who, when you read my comments, they say, Mr. Elder, thank you, you taught me something today I didn't know you. Thank you. They're the ones who the saints, you got ignorant, crazy, and evil. Then you got the crazy ones. Like I said before, man, crazy joker, you can't help them. And that's what they do in California. See, they find crazy ones, like the homeless ones, and the ones that are in drug rehab and all that, and they go up to them and they ballot box. You get $5 or $6. You know, they have them sign their ballot. Go up on the bridge, finding folks, you know, say, look, man, I'll give you $5 if you know, sign this. And they ballot hard. They bring them a ballot, have them, and they take it to the polls. So that's that 10% that's always going to be dangerous. They're in the inner city. They land on the streets, and they want to keep them there so they can always go and get their vote whenever they need it. And then you got the evil. And those are the ones that are in power with the Democratic Party. The top. I mean, if you went to the DNC and probably walked back there in the back, Satan is sitting there on the throne at the DNC. Commiserating with Barack Obama and Kamala Harris and all the rest of them. These suckers are stone cold evil. They want to cut off the breasts of little girls and call them little boys. Cut off the Catholic little boys, call them little girls. We just had a Supreme Court case where the Supreme Court case said, hell no, can't allow boys to play in women's sports, girls' sports. Everybody said, you had to go to court for that? Dang. And still, you're going to have men to vote for this Democrat Party. They're trying to act like they're still men. You're not a man. I tell you before, look, I'm just going to tell you the truth. If you're a male and you vote for the Democratic Party, you go down low, you don't you're either gay or you're extraordinarily stupid. To vote for this party with all this information out there, you say, I didn't know they went for that. Damn, man, where you been? You don't read the paper. You don't go online except to watch butt-shaking videos. You don't watch any news. You didn't know the Democratic Party stood for this. Yeah, you're extraordinarily stupid. So you're either down low, openly gay, or you're extraordinarily stupid. Pick one, man. Pick a struggle. These are the people that don't like America. The ignorant, the crazy, and the evil. The ice Democrats. You got a little beat to it, all right? Want to hear it? Ignorant, crazy, evil, okay? Ignorant, crazy, evil, all right? Ignorant, crazy, evil. That's your 29%. The ones that want to kill babies, the ones that want free stuff without working, the perverts. So I name them all. When I say they're probably perverts, liars, psychopaths, anti-Christian bigots. Those are the ones that vote for the Democratic Party. Independents, you hear me now? You better cut these suckers loose. Because you love America, you can't vote Democrat. You cannot do it. If you give your vote to this party, you're voting for a party that's going to try to destroy America. Please remember. Please remember. Hitler didn't take over. He tried to get your home. He would have been dead. He came out and then he earned the vote. They voted Hitler in. Please remember. Mussolini won in an election. It wasn't any type of coup d'etat in Italy. They voted Mussolini in. Please remember, Vladimir Putin won in. He was voted in. These Democrats hate American socialists running all over the country. And if you think that you're going to get these hate American socialists into power, and they're going to start taxing people like people like that. And the people around, you don't think they're going to mix up their toys or somewhere else, like or UAB? Who's going to say, please come, please, spend your money with us, we love you. People try to kill them. All the daddies walking around with iPhones and flat screen televisions and big bellies and free houses. Yeah, that comes from somewhere. The government is taxing somebody to give you all this free stuff, and they're taxing rich folk. Because rich folk make up about 7% of all the taxes collected by the federal government. So keep on running them out this country, see what you get here. You had to talk 1% pay about 67% of our federal tax. About 1%. The people that you hate. The people that give you your free iPhone, giving you your Section 8, giving you your free medical care. Instead of saying, thank you, we want more of what you got. And we hate you for giving it to us. Lack of gratitude. What I tell you? These guys say again, white folks got more patience than I. I would give you a damn thing. Give you a job. That's what I give you. Yeah, give you a job. So anyway, on this 4th of July, we want to make sure that everybody knows who hates America, who hates America, who hates this country, who hates what we stand for, who hates God, who sides with our enemies, who sides with the Palestinians and the terrorists. They want them to lower us. Yeah. With every war, they're on the side of the enemy. They're on the side of the who wants to open up the prison, allow all the murderers back on the street. We want to defund the police so we all have to live in fear. We want to allow the borders wide open so we won't have a country anymore. And all of these narratives all over the world come in and just take everything we got and sap all of our natural resources and sell drugs and fentanyl and have us dying again. Yeah. That's what they want. They want nothing but death. All they do is meditate on blood. But you've been found out. And we're going to call you on it. And I know the Republicans aren't going to vote for Democrats, so we got to get the independents out to understand that if they vote for the Democratic Party, they just might as well put a gun in their head and blow their own damn brains out. So that's the fall. We're going to be watching you guys. And the people that love America, let's celebrate it. The rest of them tell them to go celebrate Juneteenth. The day that they believe that a white man gave them their freedom. We're going to stand strong. Happy 4th. And I'm always going to be here to wake you up. Hope I did you some good here today. Join me again for another edition of the Vince Everett Ellison Show.
I'm April Chapman.
And I'm Vince Everett Ellison. There's a victim narrative in the United States of America that says you have no control over your lives, no control over the agency. And they're basically saying you're an absolute slave. I don't believe that. I don't think it's ever been the case. And there Jesus Christ, without God, I cannot be oppressed. I cannot be a victim. I do not think I am, nor do I think any American ever has been, or any person. Even when it comes to slavery, I believe And I think they will hold true that slavery was a choice. You know why I know? Because people choosing to be slaves now. So I'm making a documentary to debunk the myth that any human being or any American is held under bondage without their permission, even if they have to kill or give their lives to be free. Freedom is a choice, and slavery is a choice also.
We're asking you to partner with us. We are here. We have begun filming Slavery is a Choice, and it's an incredible documentary that outlines this argument to prove to the world that slavery is absolutely a choice. I partnered with him in the executive producer position, and we are appealing to our audience, you guys, those who watch us faithfully every single week, to help us bring this film to market. We've begun a crowdfunding campaign, and we're going to link the opportunity in the description below for you to partner with us and give any amount to help us bring this project to market. Slavery is absolutely a choice, and we know that slavery is a choice because we're choosing it today with many of the decisions that we continue to make to our own detriment. So we're hoping that you guys will partner with us, and we want to bring this film to market in summer of 2022. So click the link down below, and I'm April Chapman.
And I'm Bishop Adams. Freedom is a choice. But in order to be free, you must be brave. In order to not be a slave, you must believe in Jesus Christ. Believe in freedom. Believe in courage. Be courageous. Assist us in this project, and let's set and make other people free by being true blue Americans, true blue patriots, true blue Christians, believing in ourselves and believing in the future ahead. Thank you.
Oh, hell yeah!
The American dream is alive and kicking, Mr. Loftus. A new poll by the Archbridge Institute, or ABI, 67% of respondents have achieved or are pursuing the American dream, while 64% believe our land of opportunity can unite Americans. Now, this is after we've been long told that this dream is dead. Is your American dream to finally move out of your car?
I'm living it.
Yeah.
As long as I can sleep here tonight and the sun eventually sets, I am living the dream. I love hearing people say that the American dream is dead. You know what that means? More dream for me.
Yes.
I'll dream for two of us, right? And America's doing great. Even though I'm sweating more than Bill Clinton at an intern reunion. We're going to keep these going all night long. I love looking over at Kat like you're talking into an old-timey microphone, like you're about to a radio show. Hello, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all the ships at sea. The American dream is doing great, and it's like, you have to believe it, though. If you don't believe it, you'll manifest that negative, you'll manifest that Dudley, remember that bad luck schlep rock on, thank God, that's what you're gonna get.
Oh, Flintstones?
Yeah. Bad luck schlep rock.
It's amazing that that's in your brain.
Thank you.
That might say something about your brain. So, Tyrus, okay, I'm going to say something that might be sacrilegious. I've never had an American dream. Maybe because I was born here, I never thought of an American, like, I'm going to fulfill, like, it wasn't a concept in my head.
I'm going to push back on that. Of course you had an American dream. You wanted to go from where you were in life to something more.
Yeah.
And this is the one place where you could be smarter than your boss, get fired, leave a completely different business, and really build your own little empire.
Yeah.
That's the American dream. It might not be. The beautiful thing about the American dream is that it's always there. So when people say the American dream is dead, no, you are going through something, even when you've given up. This is the only country in the world where you can start with absolutely nothing.
Right.
Get everything, lose it all, then get it back again, get married, lose it all again, and it keeps going back up and down because the opportunity is, the American dream is just a fancy way to say opportunity. Opportunity is around every corner, and that's what's beautiful about this country. Everybody here, I don't think, started out to be in this chair.
Yeah.
I don't think you were going to write shipwreck novels. You were a muscle fitness guy.
Yeah.
You were going to be a marathon runner. You were going to be a real estate agent.
but the beauty thing was there were so many doors open. Bro, I'm sitting here with y'all.
Yeah.
I mean, and since you want to keep playing that game, like I'm sweating like a brother at a white woman.
You know, it's a good point. You are a example of fulfilling an American dream, going from basically working the counter at Boston Market while Red Eye was on.
Yeah, well, I was a Red Eye fan, and I was like, I'm going to be on that show. And I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think that this study is medium news, though. Because it was like 67% have achieved or are pursuing, which just means they haven't given up on life. Good. It's always good. I almost would like to see that number a little higher of people who haven't given up on life. But to me, I think the American dream is the freedom to have whatever dream you want to have.
Yeah.
It's kind of works different for everybody, right?
Yeah, it's true. And also, the number of options when a door, you know that stupid cliche, a door closes, a window opens. But my career trajectory was like this. I mean, there was like things I was doing that you wouldn't believe. Things I was doing for money. I can't even tell you. Now I take Now I take people to do it for me. Yeah. But Joey, this poll does illustrate the gulf between reality and media. The media, it's a topic of debate. But for the real life, it's not a debate.
No, that's exactly right. I get that a lot of young Americans are like, oh, I can't afford a home, and my grandparents had it so much easier. It's like, yeah, but, you know, their life was completely different. The amount of time you have on your hands because everything can be done for you now. I mean, your grandparents got off work, maybe they had one job. They got off work, they came home, and everything was about getting ready for the next day. I mean, you know, washing clothes wasn't something you just hit a button and did, or cooking dinner wasn't just picking it up in a drive-thru. You know, you're always going to have to put work into it. I mean, that is a part of the dream. But Kat hit on it. What is the dream is the freedom to decide to put any work into it at all. I mean, that may not be what was sold in the 40s and 50s, but what is the dream today is the fact that, you know, I'm living the American dream in a sense. I grew up in a single-wide trailer that was rotting away before we moved into a house my dad built himself. And then, you know, got a pretty comfy life now. It just cost me a couple of legs, and that's okay. It's an easy day. But, you know, my buddy Luke is also living the American dream. He went and built a camper on the back of his truck, designed it how he wanted it, and literally traveled the country for a year carving spoons out of tree limbs and selling them for $30 a piece. That is also the American.
I think I had that dream.
He captured the sunset in every beautiful place in this country. Got high, almost got ate by a bear, but you know he's alive. He's loving life.
If he could hit me up, I'd need some tips and tricks.
You need some spoons?
Can I ask you a question?
How to get high with a bear?
I always wondered, what is a single wide versus like a double wide?
You can drive a single wide down the road without anybody having to swerve around. It's about as wide as a lane sign.
It's like a van.
Yeah, a double wide is two of them put together.
It's a pallet. There you go. I always wanted to ask that. Here's the problem, though. We are fighting the soft power of, which I would say is owned by the left, and I think they always will, which is media, entertainment, and the arts. None of them, all of them think that patriotism is quaint and the American dream is folly and let's say you, fan lady.
Fan lady? Well, look, I think that it's awesome to be proud of being American and to have the choice and to have the freedom to do whatever you want to do. And I just don't think you worry about it, because that's the kind of stuff that they only say kind of to each other.
Yeah.
I don't think they really... sit around thinking about it, that's what you want to do.
Media, entertainment, and the arts. None of them, all of them think that patriotism is quaint and the American dream is folly and let's say you, fan lady.
Well, look, I think that it's awesome to be proud of being American and to have the choice and to have the freedom to do whatever you want to do. And I just don't think you worry about it, because that's the kind of stuff that they only say kind of to each other.
Yeah.
I don't think they really sit around thinking about it that much. They're just too afraid that they're friends with them.
Yeah, that's it. Hate America. And then they go,
also, I'm so successful that I feel bad.
yeah.
attention and security? No.
Yeah, I made it huge here, but I hate
You look at a movie like Hail Mary, about a guy who was good at his job and did well, very heroic. He did great. And then you got Supergirl, who's out to counter that, and it's flopping. So Americans still have that. The American dream is alive and well. I mean, one of the greatest movies about the American dream.
Happy Gilmore.
Yeah, he kind of... Happy Gilmore.
Yeah. I like that one. Say hello to my little fan.
Ice is a little better than a short movie.
Yes.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox.
And I just want to give a shout out to Carmelo Anthony's parents because they done scammed the fuck out of y'all. Now, I done see a lot of people get y'all for some money, but $600,000? God damn, that was the fastest come up out of everything. They got to pay the bullshit lawyer and then took the rest of the money. And then on top of that, they got another GoFundMe going for he'll probably never even see that motherfucking money. Y'all crazy as hell. And the crazy part is, they seen that video before any of us did. They already knew that he was guilty. They told him, don't take that plea deal and go to court so they could keep racking it up on y'all. I'm trying to tell you, these motherfuckers be getting over on y'all and they play into y'all sympathy because all y'all need to do is hit stop. And then here you go. Then y'all break, right? Get out the bank account, whip out the debit card, like I said, I'm glad I don't fall for the bullshit and I would have never donated to a killer. But they got y'all. Kudos to them. Hopefully they spending y'all money on something nice. Maybe that's what they did. Hopefully they got some new clothes or something. They done already sold their soul and they threw their son to the river, but he was guilty anyway. So, like I said, hey, y'all go in, go on.
Please. So, we gotta talk about the amazing bot, who was once pro-black and black, that has been a staunch Carmelo Anthony defender, right? And despite defending Carmelo Anthony, in ways that are illogical, right? About this whole situation is that Carmelo Anthony is a cold-blooded murderer, okay? And he does not have a strong self-defense reason why he was convicted. There is no explanation for what Carmelo did. Instead of actually grappling with reality and truth, he continues to flinch away from it, right? He flinches away. As soon as he comes close to acknowledging the truth, because he can't acknowledge the truth. If he acknowledges the truth, then his grip gets exposed, right? Which I don't even know if it's a grip at this point. I can't figure out if this guy is too dumb to understand why Carmelo did not act in self-defense, or he's just lying. Either way, it's hilarious to watch this guy continue to do mental gymnastics around this situation, because he started to realize that he's been hoodwinked, tricked, led astray, run amok by the race hustlers and the Carmelo Anthony family, right? Now, again, he's a race hustler, okay? So, you know, hey, you would think that he would be in on this, but apparently, he has not done as much research as he should have done before coming out here and supporting this clown show. And again, that's why he's starting to feel tricked, right? He's starting to feel gaslit by the Carmelo family, by the woke cameras, by everything that's going on here. Even though, again, he's a supporter of Carmelo. And I want to react to it because it's actually hilarious to watch this dude, again, continue to circle the truth, right? He doesn't want to acknowledge it. But, you know, hey, ultimately today, who knows? Maybe one day these people will figure it out. So our brother, let's go ahead and get into this.
Like, it's a nothing burger to me, bro. Because I'm like, everyone should be enraged, to be honest with you. There should be no celebration happening right now, in my opinion. Because that's how I feel. I feel enraged. I feel like I've been gaslit. Because you had what's his name, Alexander or whatever, the dude who was running, the marketing and everything. He was talking about how the family came across, so many attorneys. There were 7 black attorneys and there were a few white ones. And the strategy was that, given, the racist, nature of Texas and Collin County, that maybe we should get a white attorney. And I understand. I agree with that. I have no problem with that strategy. It's a good strategy. The only problem, the only flaw of the strategy, the Achilles heel of the strategy, is that the white attorney has to be good. Come on now, dog. The white attorney has to be competent. It makes no sense to get a white attorney and have an incompetent white attorney. Brother, that makes no sense whatsoever. Because it's a similar strategy that the prosecution had. Why do you think when they had Fox News talking about, oh yeah, they had so much diversity when it came to the witnesses? Of course, that was their strategy as well. Was a whole bunch of white witnesses, and so they can say, hey, look at this. This seems to be a racist, a racist type of angle to it. They of course made it their duty to get a whole bunch of black and brown, Sambo soldiers, so they can say, I mean, you heard what Steven said. Steven said that Django is guilty. All right, so I mean, Steven is black. I don't know what to tell you. So you can.
Yeah. So I guess that the high schoolers, the teenagers, who admitted that Carmelo did not act in self-defense, who told the truth as to what happened that day, they're Sambo soldiers, right? They're selling out their tap dancing. So again, this is what I'm trying to tell you guys about how these people. Again, we see the world through the lens of race. Logic goes out the window, right? Every explanation is not the most logical explanation, or the most probable, or the most likely explanation. No. It's something else, right? No. These kids are the black kids who testified against Carmelo. They're Sambo soldiers, right? They're just selling out. They're just dancing for the white man. All of them, right? All of them. Again, it's fascinating. It really is. They built an unfalsifiable conclusion about what happened with the Carmelo Anthony situation. Because the facts and evidence do not support their conclusion, right? So that's how you get videos like this. I just find this to be so entertaining, man. I really do.
Can't say racism.
Them motherfuckers ain't here to buy no mandingos.
They do this all the time. They do this in the political arena. They do this in the legal arena. This is their go-to, bro. What are we talking about? This is their MO. How many times they get a black face talking about, well, black people's is bad and, they good and the black people are wrong. They do it all the time. They're tourist manumission. They've been doing this since slavery, fam. And they have mastered this tactic. So I don't have a problem with you doing that. The issue, as I said before, is you have to get a competent attorney. You had Alexander who's talking about, hey, one black wanted $500K, and then he wanted $200K just to talk.
I had him meet with another attorney, a black attorney. The first attorney I had to meet with was black. Rain asked me what the price was the black attorney. $500,000. They weren't talking until they gave him $200,000.
Damn, pay the money. All right, I don't know what to tell you. And then when asked, well, how much was the white attorney? $75K.
What the white man say?
75,000? Yeah.
Bruh, if you're telling me that the family cheaped out on their son's defense, wrap it up, fam. Wrap it up. I don't know. In that case, I would say the Carmelo Anthony parents are worse than the Metcalf parents.
Ding, 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 ding. Ding, 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 ding. You're getting close. You're getting close, Bottom. Almost, right? Almost there. You're starting to finally figure it out, right? That you've been bamboozled, hoodwinked, left astray, run amok, that his family is drifting off of their son, right? They're literally getting paid off of their son being sent to prison, okay? And the financial incentive structure is to not pay for the best legal defense possible, or even to admit guilt and to reconcile with Jeff Metcalf, which is the opportunity that Jeff Metcalf gave them, which would have gave Carmelo less time, right? No. The financial structure is to get a cheap lawyer to boo-hoo whine about racism and to sell their son out for hundreds of thousands of dollars. You're almost there. You're almost there. And people like you are responsible, right? You are responsible for why Carmelo is doing so much time. Again, maybe, just maybe, he will get there. Maybe, right? But he's close. He's close. He just continues to flinch away from the truth. It's fascinating stuff.
Thanks, because that is diabolical. I don't know what to tell you. It's a murder case, bruh. This is when you cash in your 401k, you go all in, bruh. This is your little boy. You go all in. What are you talking about? Money should not even be an issue at this point. If you say, hey, we need to raise this amount of money to get this, secure this attorney, this retained attorney that we think is, is the best, chance for our son and to fight for self-defense, then you do that, bruh. You tell the people, tell the community, we can raise it, we can make it happen, bruh. What are we talking about? To cheap out because the attorney is $75K? That's what you got. You got a $75K worth of defense.
He's not alive.
Yeah, but see, here's the problem though, right? The parents would actually have to believe that their son is innocent, right? They would actually have to believe that he's innocent and also not want to get rid of him, which, my conspiracy theory is that they wanted to get rid of Carmelo. That Carmelo is a problem child, that he has anger management issues, he's not that smart, right? And they wanted to get rid of him. That is my conspiracy theory, okay? But again, the parents would have to... that their child is innocent, right? Like, truly believe that they don't believe that, right? That is how you make it make sense. It don't make sense that they cheaped out on a lawyer because they're selling out their son for money, okay? Once you realize it, once you understand it, then you understand, just as Major Lucas outlined, just how diabolical this is. And that like him, if he's not pretty, again, I don't know if he's not intelligent enough, right, to see to clear it out, right? Or he's just emotional about it. Why people conservative so much that he takes these positions just to stick to conservative. That's a lot of what his content is, to be honest with you. But I think a lot of it is just hating white people, hating conservatives. So he's like, all right, you know what? I'm just going to take whatever position that pisses off white people and conservatives, right? But again, when you do that, right, you end up in situations like this. You end up making videos like this where, again, it seems as if this individual, right, with his pea brain, he's genuinely confused about what's going on. Well, why didn't the family, why did they cheap out on a lawyer? Despite raising over $500,000, why didn't they sell everything they had in order to defend their son? If they really believe that he acted in self-defense, well, again, here's a hint. Right? You ready? You ready for it? I know it's really hard to understand. They don't believe that he's innocent. they knew that he would get convicted, right? They knew that he committed murder. So they said, you know what? Instead of paying for a high-powered black lawyer, paying $500,000, right? Losing all that money that we raised, we can cheap out and get a cheap one, and then we can just pocket the rest, right? And like, he's innocent when we know that he's not. Yeah, that's what's happening. Right, that's what's happening. Again, he continues to so far around. He just can't quite get there. But he's right.
Bruh, it's wild because I'm hearing him on like, I don't know if you guys saw it at night, but she interviewed him. He was like, hey, the family had 24 hours to pick an attorney.
But this family had 24 hours to hire an attorney.
Hey, you know, 7 people, experts that they know. Bro,
yes, there were experts. There were resources that we donated for experts. You know, 7 of them that I knew that weren't even called.
What are we doing here, bro? What are we doing? I don't, like, what? Are we serious right now? And, you know, the more that comes out, the more it looks like that Mike Howard did this on purpose, allegedly, bruh. That's what it looks like. It looks like he threw Carmelo under the bus on purpose. Like there was some underhand, under the market table, you know, shooky. That's what it looks like. It's not making any sense. It's not making any sense whatsoever.
It doesn't make sense because you already, not based off the facts, not based off the evidence, it doesn't make any sense because you already know that Carmelo is innocent and you're trying to work backwards from the conclusion, right? You're trying to work backwards that do not match the facts and evidence. That's why it doesn't make sense. It makes perfect sense to everybody who did not come to the false conclusion that Carmelo acted in self-defense and just ignored all the facts and evidence. People who said, hey, this is the facts and evidence, and I said this from the beginning of all this. I said, I'm going along with the facts and evidence. If the facts and evidence suggest that Carmelo acted in self-defense, I'm going to say it's self-defense. If the facts and evidence suggest that he did not act in self-defense, then I'm going to tell you it's not self-defense. I went based off the facts and evidence. It was clear from the beginning, okay? There was no facts or evidence that suggested that Carmelo had a strong self-defense case. Now, again, instead of coming to that conclusion, right, the evasion bottom here, again, this is what I've been outlining this whole video, which is that he circles around the tree, and then when he almost gets there, he jumps back into an illogical conclusion because, again, it doesn't align with his preconceived conclusion, right, which is that, well, Carmelo's innocent, he acted in self-defense, there's a self-defense case to be made, but here's reality. It's not. Self-defense is not Carmelo, right? That is a very strong accusation to make of defense, right? It doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. That's not how it works, right? Carmelo does not have a strong case of self-defense. The facts and evidence do not support self-defense. We have him on my saying, I did it. I'm not alleged. 20 plus witnesses testified against Carmelo. He was not jumped. There was no fist fight. You cannot respond to a push with a knife. Carmelo put his hand in the knife and then touched him. What happened? It implies that he knew what he was going to do. He knew that he was going to stab Austin Metcalf in the chest. He knew that he was going to try to kill him if Austin Metcalf touched him, right? It's premeditation. These are the facts. It's not a conspiracy theory. These are facts backed up by what we heard in court, by the witness testimony, by the body cam. These are all the reasons why Carmelo got tricked. But again, when you don't live in that reality, when you refuse to acknowledge those basic facts, when you're basing your analysis around this notion that Carmelo is innocent because white man bad, or I want to stick it to conservatives, or I hate Trump supporters, or that I feel like what happened to Daniel Penny was wrong, or what happened to Kyle Rittenhouse was wrong, or all this other, when you base it based off all those things that have nothing to do with the actual case, when you're believing lies, when you're peddling conspiracy theories, yeah, you're going to be confused. You're going to be confused as hell, right? You're going to feel played. I just find it to be so entertaining.
And when you look at the appeals, it's most likely his conviction, is going to be upheld because they have to prove some type of fault. And we're not talking about the facts because I've already said when it came to the witness inconsistencies there, bro, none of that. They don't care about the appeals. Essentially, they want you to prove, hey, there was something that was off. Whether they trying to go for jury selection, right? And they try to say, well, no, they struck the black jurors because of racial bias. Whatever. Fine, you got to prove that legally. Go ahead, knock yourself out. Whether there's a litany of ways they can go about it, but all of them are very marginal. Very marginal in trying to prove there was some method, whether it comes to the jury and the jury instructions, whether that was inaccurate and misleading. You have to prove something more, legally, right? The facts were handled in court. If you didn't like what the witnesses were saying or what the witnesses were saying were lying, that was the job of the defense to ask for an objection. Hey, objection. Leading the witness. Hey, objection. Whatever, right? But from my understanding, this mofo didn't object not once. And the prosecution just had a field day, bro. He had a field day. So it very much what it seems like is that due to this base court defense, it crippled whatever chances that they had for an appeal. That's what it seems like. No wonder, they're doing it pro bono. Because they're like, hey, what you have to understand, this is all a win-win for this other legal team. It's a win-win. They're doing it pro bono, right? First off, so now they're like, oh, they're doing it pro bono, and they're not even asking for money. And then secondly, at the chance that they get an appeal, and they say, you know what, this is actually a serious legal offense, we're going to remove the conviction and do a new trial, right? Because that's the Hail Mary, what they're looking for. The moment they do that, this legal team, what happens to them? They get freaking, posterized, bro. They look like they are the end-all, be-all as a legal team. And they did pro bono, but also at the other hand, let's say they don't get it, right? They get nothing. The conviction is upheld, and there's nothing we can do. No one's gonna say boo, boo, no. Why? Hey, they're doing it pro bono. They're not even being paid to do this. They're just doing this out of the goodness of their heart. You know what? That other attorney, he screwed up. He screwed up so much that there was nothing we could do. We tried our hardest. We tried our best. It took us, multiple years, every day. So it's a win-win for them, bruh. I'm not giving them a pat on the shoulder for coming in late in the game, bruh. Like, what are we talking about? That's like, bro, you losing the game, losing the football game. They come in late and they're like, I got an idea. We're gonna throw a Hail Mary. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do a trick play. That's what we're gonna do. They're like, bam. Where were you during the first half of the game, the second half of the game? Where were you during this whole entire time? I know. So no, I know. Call me just a pessimist, say whatever you want. But for me, I don't give them any credit, bro. I give them zero, zilch. And when it comes to family, if this is what they chose, Mike Howard, I hope that's not the case when it comes to them cheaping out on the 75K. But there is just so many questions surrounding this case. It's abysmal. I don't know, the more that comes out, the more I understand, the more it seems like I don't, right? Yeah, the more information that comes out, the more questions that arise, at least for me. So, no, I'm not celebrating this at all. Anyway, guys, that's the video. Let me know what you guys think.
Hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. This is what happens when you're genuine, right? You don't understand the law, and you dug yourself in a hole where you're defending the indefensible, right? And you're lying. Okay, but again, the reason why they're like this is because, essentially, they built themselves an unfalsifiable conspiracy theory that they know that they can't reconcile the reality, the truth, with what they've already led their audience to believe, right? Two things cannot coexist at the same time, right? Carmelo, innocent / self-defense, and, well, he was convicted anyway, right? If the facts genuinely supported an acquittal, something has to account for the guilty verdict, right? In their mind, right, the only three candidates can be, well, it's racist, the system is rigged, or the lawyer blew it. The bad defense, right, that's those specific reasons. But again, it's the only thing that reconciles their preconceived notion, not based on facts, right? Not based on emotion. That Carmelo's innocent, he acted in self-defense. So when they don't get the outcome that they expected, they have to default to, well, the defense was bad. Okay, well, who's responsible for the defense? Right? Who's responsible for hiring the defense attorney? Well, the parents are responsible for hiring the defense attorney. Oh, turns out that the parents cheaped out on the defense attorney? Oh, why would they cheap out on the defense attorney if they believe that their son is innocent? They're cryptic. They're cryptic. It's very uncomfortable, right? Very uncomfortable, okay, for blacks, right? And it's just so entertaining to watch these people do mental gymnastics around the truth, right? Because they can't come anywhere close to the actual truth. It's everything. It's this conspiracy theory. It's that conspiracy theory. And again, it's why it's funny because again, these people claim that everybody is low IQ except them, right? Except them, right? All these lawyers who said from the beginning that, hey, you know, Carmelo has these weak self-defense cases. They're low IQ. The black students who testified against Carmelo, they're saying right? They're tapping right there, right? All this stuff Carmelo does not have a good case of self-defense. His case was weak. Do not align with Carmelo, right? They can't admit that. And what's also hilarious is reading the comments where you have some people turning against the amazing Bob here, right? Amazing Lucas, you reek of a double A. Malcolm, right? Yeah. It's just funny, right? It's just absolutely hilarious, man. You tripping? His new attorneys are appellate and civil rights attorneys, so they specialize in appeals and civil rights. It's a good thing. Yeah. So again, he's getting cooked right in his comment. Because you know he's getting close to the truth, right? He's realizing that he's been played. Again, you know, maybe one day these people will actually get there. Again, that requires which is what a vast majority of these people don't have. So, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Looking forward to share a black
What you're about to see is a conversation between me and Ray, a former MEK member and Islamo-Marxist terrorist group that helped overthrow the U.S.-backed Shah in Iran. Ray was actually a child before that. Today he talks about the story along with how Islamo-Marxist operates.
We smuggled through some smugglers, he went to Iraq, and then they joined the MEK ranks in Iraq at that time, which they had established bases in Iraq. Because they were at the time Iraq was in a war with Iran. Saddam's policy was the enemy of my enemy. So we had bases and then a small military in Iran. My parents went and basically came into Iran was about the Persian Gulf War. The coalition forces attacked the U.S. attacked Iran. And that's the time when the MEK leadership decided that it's not a place for children anymore, the MEK ranks and then the organization. So they made it mandatory for all the parents or the couples to first of all divorce and split children away. So my parents, along with most of the other children, they sent us. They decided to stay in Iraq and continue their fight and struggle at that time.
So I want to.
Of course,
I was just going to say, I want to get into what you were doing as a kid. What was required of you day to day as a child soldier? And what does that term even mean?
So when I was 7 years old, we escaped Iran and went to Iraq. And I was there for almost 2 years. And at that time we were just going to school. During the week we would see our parents, maybe away from our parents. On the weekends, for 1.5 days, we would see our parents. So just basically school from 7 to 9. And then I was sent to Canada. I was smuggled basically from Iraq all the way to the US and from there to Canada. And then I stayed in Canada for 8 years with foster families. And eventually, and during these 8 years, I had no contact with my family, with my parents. One time, one phone call from very close phone call from my mother. And then one day, a woman on behalf of the ADK came to our house, and then she said that she wants to see your parents. And I said, of course, I missed them. I haven't seen them for so many years. And she said that if you want to see them, you have to go to Iraq. So they basically lured me into going to Iraq. And at that time, I was 16 years old. So at the age of 16, they smuggled me back from Canada to the US and then eventually to Iraq. And that's when I became so at the age of 16. And I thought that I might be like one of the handfuls of teenagers or children that's in the NK ranks. But when I got there, I realized that we were more than a couple of hundred. And from the age of 13 all the way to the age of 17, 18. And we were all in one unit. And then I think it was 3-4 weeks after we got there, we started getting military AK-47, small arms, RPG, BKCs, and then gradually we built our way up to T-55 tanks, anti-aircraft missiles, and everything that you would be required to basically, the knowledge that you would require to have in a military fighter, eventually carry out military operations for the NEK.
So what was the goal then? What were they telling you? Like, what was the end mission, the grand strategy, the reason that they were sending you to battle?
So the NEK strategy is based on the speaking or the thoughts that the leader, Master Leader Mayim Rajavi, had with all the NEK members. The strategy was always saying that, well, that's how they portrayed that you have popular support inside Iran. And when there is an uprising inside Iran, we will attack Iran militarily from the Iraq border. And this is like in late 1990. I joined the NEK ranks in 1999. So at that time, that was the strategy. Once there's a popular uprising in Iran, we are going to attack with the full force of our military. And just to let you know that at that time we were around 3,000, 4,000 members in anti-Ashura in Iraq. So we were heavily armed. We had tanks. So that was the goal, to basically one day attack or infiltrate inside Iran with our guns and tanks, and then join the people who had basically risen up and were in the streets protesting against the government. That was the strategy.
Let me ask you guys something. You're putting in the work. You're showing up at the gym, at the office, for your family, but lately it feels like the engine is running at about 70%. The drive is not quite there. The energy, body calm that gives you a personal tenets of MEK. What were the ideas that they had and were trying to spread in Iran?
Well, that's where things get tricky or complicated, because so they portrayed themselves as having this very popular support inside Iran, which is completely false. It's an illusion. Any NEK member or supporter or any one of their representatives, when they say that we have popular support, they truly don't. They pretend that they do. The reason that they don't have popular support is based on their policies, and one of the biggest points where, or reasons why the Iranian people not only do not support the NEK, but they hate the NEK and consider them traitors, is that during the Iran-Iraq war, the NEK sided with Saddam Hussein, who at that time had attacked Iran. And so NEK members and NEK forces at that time were carrying out military operations against the Iranian army inside Iran, so basically helping the Saddam Hussein, the Iraqi army. So from then on, the Iranians considered the NEK as traitors. They followed Saddam Hussein. So there is no way that the strategy that they had developed would have ever worked, because the Iranian people would have never sided. They're heavily based on Islam. The ideas that they're based on Islam is remarkable. The way they act, or the way their organizations function, is very Marxist communist, like the order that needs the hierarchy. The rules that need to be obeyed inside the NEK, I think of the cult. They're very heavily influenced by Marxist and communist ideologies and their when I was 16 and 17, and I was in camp, we were very young, and we're still teenagers, and they were teaching us like based on the books of Mao, the leaders of the Communist Party in China. they were teaching us those books, and based on those books, they were saying that these are the values that we're supposed to have as a revolutionary, and these are the values that are being that we're obligated to Russia. And they were very, very strict about it. So then there was punishment and people who did not oblige, which did not obey the deal. For example, my father, he was tortured and eventually converted to Iran way before I rejoined the NDK in 1999. So it's very, they're very much heavily influenced by Islam, which is their main ideology. You have to be a Muslim. You have to pray 5 times a day, you have to fast, you have all these ceremonies, religious ceremonies. Leader is always, all of his speeches, all of his ideological trainings, and everything is heavily based on the Quran. And that's what he teaches, and that's what they believe in. Wholeheartedly, they believe in.
So this Islamic Marxist cult that's happening, I think it's one of the top concerns that I have and a lot of my audience has here in America. We're seeing communities in New Jersey, in Michigan, in Texas being taken over by these ideologues. One of the questions I've had, because as someone looking from the outside in, I see Islam and I see Marxism, and they seem somewhat contradictory to me, but no doubt they are being meshed together. I'm seeing it even with popular influencers like Tucker Carlson, for example. So my question to you, is the end goal for these people a takeover of Marxism or more a takeover of Islam?
Regarding NEK, it's definitely Islam. It has a history. You know, if you go back to prior to 2003, which is the time I'm in the NEK, right? So from 1999 to the NEK, until 2003, I would separate this into, I would say 2 parts. From 1999, based on my personal experience, until 2003, and then from 2003 on. And the major event is 2003 and the invasion of Iraq by Polish forces in the United States. Because before that, Saddam Hussein was the dictator of Iraq, and Master Rajavi and the NEK were Saddam Hussein, there was oil money. I can send you evidence. There's videos where they're meeting and they're talking about it. And so they were basically doing whatever they wanted. At that time, during the training, the ideological training and the teaching that we were receiving, the United States was the great Satan and imperialist. And the end goal was eventually to overthrow the regime in Iran, take power in Iran, and eventually start struggle against the great imperialists. For example, many South American countries were doing back in the day. So that was the end goal for the NEK from 2003, the invasion of Iraq. But once the invasion of Iraq happened, overnight, it happened overnight. Like, we started burning books. All the books that had mentioned, or that anyway, even slightly mentioned the United States as the great Satan or great imperialist, they were completely destroyed, and NEK had a new face, where Rajavi, in a written message to all the members, he announced to us that, okay, from now on, we have to have parallel policies in the United States that we cannot oppose, so we have to be basically friends with them. So from then on, everything changed, and the NEK started rebranding, and as they've been doing since 2003, and they are portraying themselves less as the NEK and more as the NCRI. And what you see now in the United States is more the NCRI. I rarely see NEK. No one comes and says, I'm a member of the NEK, I'm a proud member of the NEK. We don't do that. Publish or post the NEK flag or what's representative of them. Which, if you look at it, you would immediately say, oh, these guys are Marxists, these guys are Islamists, these guys are communists. But just by the symbols that are on the NEK flag, so they've completely,
I'm curious what you think about this policy then. I wasn't planning on asking you about this, but you're saying that NEK has kind of switched over to a more soft or less adversarial position against the United States, since they see the United States as obviously the dominant superpower in the world, and that's not going to change anytime soon. Do you then support some sort of Muslim immigration ban in the U.S. to prevent people from coming here and slowly taking over? What do you think is the best solution?
I wouldn't say that they've changed. I would say that they've adapted. Deep down, ideologically, they still wholeheartedly see the United States as the great city. Ideologically, they oppose the United States. It's just speculative. It's in their interest today to not oppose the United States, especially when it came to the FTO, the Foreign Terrorist Organization. Because the NEK at that time wasn't the terrorist list. And they tried very hard to show them the outside world that, oh, so we don't believe in armed struggle anymore. We don't view the United States NEK members back in the days, in the early days before the 1979 revolution. They have murdered a U.S. contractor contractors inside Iran. So they have American blood on their hands, right? So they really distance themselves from that image, and they portray themselves as, you know, we're these politicians, and we're wearing suits, and governors shave their mustaches, and just complete rebranding. But deep down, ideologically, even these people that you see on OAN, on Fox News sometimes, like I call them out all the time, Ali Zajafarzadeh, Ali Satabi, these are NDK members. They're ideologically oppose the United States, and they see the United States as imperialist. They are wholeheartedly sworn to the NDK leadership. But they portray themselves as NCRI members, and then they wear suits, and then they talk very nice. So to get back to your question, because you mentioned should there be a Muslim ban inside the United States? I think that's something for the Americans to decide. You know, I'm not an American. When it comes to Iran, I think that I have a word, I have a say in it. But I think the Americans should basically do what's best for them. And I live in Germany right now, and honestly, I am a refugee. I mean, because I didn't tell you how I left the NDK maybe another time. You know, but eventually I made my way to. I smuggled my way to Germany, and then here I became a political refugee, and I ripped out students and asylum, and I rebuilt my life from scratch, from nothing. And I was given that opportunity by the German government, and I'm grateful for that. You know, as a refugee, I'm definitely not Muslim anymore. You know, I'm far from that. I passed. I went through that experience, but I see today that our society here is changing. It's changing very fast, and you know, like all of us, as a foreigner, well, there needs to be some sort of restriction. You can't just let anyone in. You know, there's all civilizations don't just melt into each I think that we should respect for Germany and German culture and the German heritage and even the religion here. You know, if it were left to me, I would definitely restrict the entrance of. I wouldn't specifically say Muslims, but I would specifically make basically adaptation and integration a fundamental part of anyone who wants to live in this country. And I think you guys should do the same. Like I worry for because I kind of follow American politics, and I worry for you guys because I see you guys are like. I wouldn't say at the beginning, and it's been some years now, but you're going down a path that us Iranians have gone down many years. Like it's been almost 48 years now. You know? And it was the Islamists, you were mentioning, it was the Islamists and the leftists. So it was like Marxists, communists, and Islamists together. They joined. They overthrew the Shah, and they took power. And eventually, the Islamists were stronger, and they dominated, and then they eliminated everyone else, and now they have complete power. So I really worry for you guys. Like you guys should really wake up to defend your country's history and your culture and your heritage there.
I completely agree. One of the things that I found when I was researching MEK a little bit more was that they had a big habit and culture and policy of separating families as often as they could, like it seems like it was the case with your family, and even encouraging divorces at times. I was just curious. Tell me a little bit about your experience with that and why they were so intent on doing that.
Absolutely, it wasn't. They weren't encouraging. It was mandatory. You know. So basically, the for one point in 1987, 88, where from now on there will be no married woman in the NDK. Everyone has to be. He basically used the Quran and the teachings of Muhammad and you know the Islamic Muslim prophets to justify his new policy. He said that in order for NDK members to wholeheartedly devote all of their energy to the work for the Islamic Republic, they have to set aside all of these distractions. And women or family or men are distractions. So to divorce. And anyone who didn't get divorced was eventually kicked out of the NDK. Because the NDK is a cult and they're heavily NDK members heavily influenced by the ideology, they're shamed. They leave the organization. So many, like my parents, they eventually decided to stay. They divorce, even send their children away, but be devoted to the NDK cult and their ideology, and specifically their leadership, which they see as like the ultimate leader, someone like Guru or someone like they would guide And eventually I went back to the NEK, right? And at the age of 16, I decided to go back to see my parents. But once you get there, you're stuck. So we're in a camp in the middle of the desert in Iraq with barbed wires and fences. And there was literally no way to get out. And I ended up staying there for 18 years. So until 2017, I was in the NEK. And during this time, I experienced a lot of things. But eventually, once the basically the cooperation of the United States government, the UN, the United Nations, and the Albanian government, NEK members were eventually in 2016 transferred from Iraq to Albania, where they currently reside in Kent, Albania. And it was in Albania where I had the chance to leave the NEK. And once I was, like I told them I want to leave and I will not stay here anymore. My mother, who was in the NEK, and she was a wholehearted devoted NEK member, she sat down with me and she didn't without my son. I did not want to have anything to do with it. And eventually I told her, well, my decision is very clear, I'm leaving. And from that moment on, I've never spoken to her again. Not only have I not spoken to her, but she's very outspoken against me when it comes to NEK matters. Because I speak up against NEK crimes and atrocities and the fact that they're called. And she sometimes writes statements or letters that are posted and published in NEK, on NEK websites against me, calling me a liar and all things like that. So that's just like a small example, just to show you that these people are so crazy, they're so devoted to their leadership and their ideology that a mother is willing to disown her own child over ideology and her leadership and for the leader that she's chosen.
Yeah, that's so insane. That's really sad to hear. Thank you for sharing that. This might be interesting to you. It's interesting that you say that. I don't take the word cult lightly. I think it's thrown around way too much. But what you're describing here is 100% cultist behavior. I actually wrote a book about cults a few years ago, and I was talking about how the left has in many ways become a cult. One of the main reasons why is because they try to make themselves, they try to essentially abolish family and abolish parental and children relationships in favor of you trusting them as your parental figure. And that's exactly what you just described there, which is just so shocking that there is, these radical groups out there that essentially try to make their prophet or their leader out to be the only important relationship that you can have, and all other relationships must be abolished. I wanted to ask you about Iran a little bit. We had an MOU here in the U.S. between us and Iran. It was not a deal that I was in favor of. I don't think we should make a deal with terrorists. I think that we should do it on our terms only. And it seems like, as I predicted, that deal has completely fallen through. I know you're not a U.S. citizen. I know you don't live in the U.S., but I'm curious, since you have experience in Iraq and in Iran, what do you think is going to happen here? Were you a fan of the MOU?
Absolutely not. I completely agree with you that we should not deal with terrorists, especially terrorists who cannot be trusted. The Islamic Republic has kicked the can down the road with EU and Western delegations, and when it comes to the program, for so many years, for decades. And the fact that someone in the administration now, whether it's the U.S. president or the vice president or advisors, think that they have something or they know something that the predecessors did not know, I think it's not realistic. When it comes to Iran, they only understand one thing, that's force. If you want to enter and bring about regime change, then you have to follow through and go to the end. And if you don't want to, then you shouldn't have started. But what you started, then I think not only an MOU, they can write 10 MOUs and they can write agreements, but they will all eventually fall through, because that's the nature of this regime. It only understands one thing, and that's force. So it would have been great if the United States could have had like a coalition, just like they had in 2003 with European Union members, European countries, but unfortunately they did not, and they acted solely alone, or with Israel and some Arab countries. The Islamic Republic, the regime in Iran, is a force that it's like cancer. You can do an operation, but if you don't completely remove it, it will grow back, and it will just like okay, for now, Hamas is gone, Hezbollah is gone, the Houthis are very weak right now. But if you give them money and if you give them time, they will rebuild themselves again, and they will come back stronger. So it's just a matter of okay, this administration will not deal with it next week. The administration after that will have to deal with it. So eventually, and I know it's really hard for Americans. I put myself in your shoes, because I think for an average American, it's very hard to think about politics in the Middle East when it comes to when your fuel prices are going up and you're just making ends meet, barely making ends meet with the economy currently. And us here in Germany as well. I think fuel prices were skyrocketing during the war. I really feel for you guys, and I think, like I said, it's the policy. If you really want to start something, then go through and finish it. But you can't just leave it. You can't leave a very dangerous regime doing this and looking for retaliation. And just give them money and say, okay, that's fine. And say, okay, yeah, for now, just don't follow through with your no, they won't, and they will continue. That's what they've done for so many decades.
We have a few more minutes here. I think this is a good place to end on. I want to hear your story. I know you mentioned it earlier, but I do want to hear your story of how you left the MEK. Because I'm just really curious how this happens.
Well, like I said, I was very lucky. Because at that time, the MEK, so while we were in Iraq, like I said, we were completely isolated from the outside world. No phone, no internet, no television, no nothing. What is it called? I don't know. But luckily, the United Nations and the US government, along with Albania, they decided to transfer us all to Albania. This happened to a deal with the Albanian government and the United States. And then in Albania, when we initially got there, there was a period where we weren't living in an isolated camp. We were living in apartment complexes. The lifestyle was still the same. They were trying to impose all those rules and everything. But it wasn't realistic. And it was that window, very short window of opportunity that I had that I decided time to take it. Because at that time, the United Nations, they had monitored in the area where we were living. They didn't impose their rules on us. So I said I wanted to go. They took me through a process of like over 2 months where they first tried to manipulate me, they tried to blackmail me, they tried to really work on my my emotions, especially with my family, my mother. Talk to us, only the command, the higher command. So yeah, eventually after 2 months, I said no, I want to go, and they realized that they cannot change my opinion. They said okay, there's nothing we can do because the United Nations was also involved, and then they just let it go. But afterwards, now currently, they built another camp like the camp they had in Iraq, completely isolated. And anyone who wants to leave the camp currently, they have a policy of 2-year waiting period. So they have to wait in the isolated section where they don't interact with anyone else for 2 years, and then after 2 years, they will be let go. So imagine you would have to live in solitary confinement for 2 years, and then you will be able to leave the camp.
Wow. One of my questions too, I know I said that was the last question, but now I'm still curious. You left, you saw through what was going on, you saw that this was not an organization you wanted to be a part of. But what was the difference between you and someone else who decided to stay?
Honestly, I was very lucky. I'm writing a book about my life. There's so many little interesting stories. So when we first got to Albania, right, we were allowed to go in Paris, go into the city, Tirana. And so with a trusted friend, I went to Tirana, and we went to an internet cafe. I built an email account. I made an email account, and I emailed the last time that I bought the family. I just remember some emails, and I emailed all of them, and eventually one of them answered. I would just go once a week to the internet cafe and check. And then she answered, and I got a text from her. She goes, oh my God, where are you? We haven't heard from you for 18 years. Just get out. We'll help you no matter what. So they were a big part of helping me find the first week. When we were in the NK, I would say there were 3 obstacles that they set on the path to adventure. First, ideology. 18 years of brainwash. You're fighting a jihad. You turn your back on the jihad based on the Quran. And you will be punished in this world and in the afterworld. You're basically going to going out and living the rest of my life in a normal world. I'm going to be in here, but then I'm going to hell. Or I'm just going to stay and fight it through, and then eventually I will. That's the mindset of it. So that's one ideology. The second part is the way they describe the outside world. Because you have no internet, you're completely disconnected from the outside world. They portray a very dark world in which there are no other people left, and everyone is just stealing from each other, killing each other. Like, for example, when we were in Tirana, most of the people outside of the camp, or that living area that we had, when it got dark. So before sunset, we had to be home. Why? Because they said that Tirana is the most dangerous capital in Europe, and at night all the thieves and the murderers, they come out. And that's what everyone believed, through fear. And so the second was just the fact that you realized, you thought that life outside of the NK was impossible, right? And the third was basically, for some people, family relationships, for some friendships, I know people who have been in the NK for more than 40 years. They spent more of their life there. So it's hard for them to just throw that away and say, I spent 40 years of my life for nothing. And they just want to see it through, maybe. And so it's very complicated and hard. I was lucky enough to that window of opportunity in Albania. I had the help of my family in Canada, the foster family, and also some friends who were able to leave before me. I got in touch with them through Facebook, and they really helped me out. That 2-month period where I was constantly being pushed and manipulated and brainwashed. Every time I got out, my family sent me some money to Western Union, and I eventually bought a smartphone. So I was speaking in the bathroom and texting with my friends and my family at times. They really helped me really overcome that brainwash and eventually the greatest obstacle that is ideological. Where I remember like the last moment that I just had that I really want to go to, I got to my mind that if there is a God, and he's a forgiving God, and if this is a mistake that I'm making, he will eventually forgive. Like that was my mindset. Like, even if I make a mistake, he will forgive me, and I will go and I will be a good person in this world, and I will do good things for people, and that's what matters. That was my mindset when I left. And it took me such a long time. It's like, signed up in March 2017. It's like 9 years now that I've left MK, but I'm still fighting the effects and the influence of the 18-year brainwash. And what really helped me was writing my book, and also sharing my story with people and interacting with them and then seeing their reactions, where people were telling me, wow, like you're brave for speaking out against the imitation. Everything was false. And also the fact that I realized that I can change, I can evolve, and I can become a better person, and I can learn to deal with my past and separate myself from everything that happened to me, all the trauma and everything like that. And that's basically helped me to overcome and start a new life. Living now, and I'm married for 4 years now, and I have 2 children, like a normal life, as a father.
Everybody, because they did the right thing, they did the right thing. I said, there's no way if we have to speak in front of one person at 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to be here. There's no way we can be concerned. And they estimated they had 375,000 people before everybody had to leave. And they now have 150,000 people. It's the craziest thing anyone's ever seen. At least. And I want to just thank you, and I feel so badly about some people. They left and we couldn't get back. But very special people. And we have a very special country. Thank you very much. Tonight we come together for one of the most joyous and glorious milestones of all time, and you know what that is, 250, the 250th anniversary. And I do have to say this. One of my very brilliant people backstage said, don't worry about it, sir. We can do it maybe next week. I said it doesn't work next week. This is the big day. We won July 4th. We're not looking for July something else. Because this is the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. Nothing like it. For 2.5 centuries, our American Republic has stood as the crowning achievement of human history. This country is the home of freedom. This is the land of liberty. And this is a flag that's the banner of the most extraordinary, most exceptional, most incredible nation ever to exist on the face of the earth. And we're doing better now than we've ever done before. No people have done more good, shown more courage, made more progress, righted more injustice, or achieved more greatness than you, the American people. For 250 years, the United States of America has been the hope, the promise, the light, and the glory among all of the nations of the world. All over the world, they try and be like us. Nobody can be like us. And with God's help, we will always be this or even better. We're going to be better. Here on our National Mall, we're celebrating freedom's triumph over tyranny, liberty's conquest over oppression, and the enduring victory of the American spirit from the July 4th, 1776 to July 4th, 2026. Big dates. That's big dates. Two big ones. And tonight our country is stronger, freer, richer, safer, and prouder than ever before. But it all started with the miracle of history that lives forever in the heart of every single patriot. In Philadelphia, our founding fathers summoned the courage of justice, the wisdom of centuries to boldly proclaim these timeless truths. They declared that all men are created equal, that they are endowed with sacred, unalienable rights by the hand of our Creator, and that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. In signing their names to the roster of freedom, those 56 patriots with everything at risk stepped onto the stage of destiny and seized a victory for the ages, and that's what it was. And this is an evening for the ages, I believe. This is something very special. This is bigger than if we didn't have the lightning blaring. We had lightning blaring, but this is bigger. Little more inconvenient, but it's bigger. I think in its own way, it's more beautiful. From the beginning, we were a nation that lived by the motto, victory or death, and live free or die. 1 out of every 100 Americans gave their lives in the fight for independence to remind us of who these heroes were and what they gave us. We are honored to have here tonight in the heart of our nation's capital one of the very first American flags ever to exist. Dating back to 1777, it bears the 13 stars and 13 stripes of the 13 states that declared independence on the 4th of July. Here it is. This was the flag that flew victorious at Saratoga. And these are the real deals. These are the real flags. These are flags that have seen a lot. These were the stars and stripes that flew triumphant when the British waved the white flag of surrender at Yorktown. That was a big surrender. Nobody thought that was possible. They were the greatest power of the world, and they surrendered, and that was the beginning. Ever since, the entire world has been on notice that Americans will never let anyone take our freedom away. Won't happen. And all these talks from the communists, they haven't got a chance. Not even a chance. We don't want communists in our country. and it never will work. Americans must never forget that we are a historic and heroic people with a heroic spirit and a heroic purpose on this beautiful earth of ours. We are made of the courage and the fire and the flesh and the blood of the best and the bravest people this world has ever produced. We are the bravest and the best. Tonight we pledge allegiance to the flag they gave us, and we say, God bless the immortal patriots of 1776, and long live the cause of independence. May it reign forever and ever and ever. We will always be on top. We will never let our country fall. We will always be the best. Our founders not only won our liberty, they secured it with the most righteous political document ever conceived. It's called the Constitution of the United States. Very special. And it's because of their genius that we remain the finest people on the planet after. Unlike so many others in the world, in this country we have freedom of speech, freedom of religion, equal justice under the law, although I wasn't treated that well, but we won't get into it. And the right to keep and bear arms. And for the almost 6 years that I was president, I guarded very, very powerfully your Second Amendment, and we didn't do a thing to it, and it was not easy. But we guard your Second Amendment. We guard it very, very strongly and cautiously. Across the generations, Americans have fought, bled, and died, not just to secure those rights, but to expand them to citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed. Because we are one people. We are one family. You showed that tonight with one flag. And as our Declaration of Independence tells us, we are all made in the image of one Almighty God. And a communist will never say that. That's for sure. Few heroes remind us of these truths more than William Carney, who escaped slavery to become a Union soldier in the Civil War, which was a very big deal at the time. On the front lines of battle, he saw a comrade struck down by enemy fire while carrying the Stars and Stripes, and Sergeant Carney dove to the ground to keep the flag from touching the mud. He didn't want to have it touch the ground. He didn't want to have it touch the mud. He wanted it to be perfect. He raised it high above the field and was shot 4 times. They thought he was gone, but he kept moving forward. He loved our country. He loved our flag. Before he returned to camp and announced, "Boys, the old flag never touched the ground." And he became the first African American to receive the Congressional Medal of Honor. He got the Congressional Medal of Honor, and he was the first African American, and he was some man. We've written stories about him. He was something special. With us tonight to celebrate this forward march of freedom is another Medal of Honor recipient, Colonel Paris Davis, whose courage won eternal glory in Vietnam. He helped lead a surprise attack on 100 enemy combatants. They said he was finished. His whole group was finished. And despite multiple life-threatening wounds, saved the lives of his fellow soldiers. And this evening he stands to salute the only flag of its kind, the one that was draped over the casket of President Abraham Lincoln in Independence Hall. Thank you very much. liberty and justice for all. Colonel Davis, thank you very much. Great man. Great man, thank you. Americans expanded the blessings of freedom, and we have never stopped expanding our ambitions and our dreams. We had the American dream. We never had the American dream, however, like we have it right now. The American dream is back. Very strong, beautiful. You know, to get into our military now is tough. 2 years ago, we couldn't fill a job, and now it's overflowing. We have so many setting records. Setting records. It's actually hard to get in. That includes our great police forces and our firemen. They couldn't hire anybody. Nobody wanted to do it. Now it's hard to get those positions, but it's really hard to get into our military because people respect and love our country again. Our rise to being the world's strongest and most powerful nation was no accident in history. We rebuilt our military in our first term. We use it again in our... Actually, I should say third term, but I won't do that because I don't want any controversy. But we use it, and we've had tremendous success. You look at Venezuela, you look at Iran, we wiped it out. Wiped out the military. Americans crossed the Great Plains, scaled the Rockies, tamed They really just tamed the wilderness and conquered the frontier and built the empire. It's called the Empire of Liberty. We laid down, raised up the skyscrapers, those beautiful skyscrapers, and dug out the Panama Canal, considered the 8th wonder of the world, which everyone said was an impossible thing to do. And by the way, 38,000 Americans died to give us one of the greatest engineering feats of all time, the Panama Canal. This was the unstoppable spirit that created the world's most powerful industry and built the strongest military anyone had ever seen. And today it is stronger and more powerful than it ever was before. American grit, boldness, and daring forged heroes like Davy Crockett, Wyatt Earp, Annie Oakley, Teddy Roosevelt, and the legend of the Wild West, Buffalo Bill Cody. These were great, powerful people. These incredible grandchildren happen to be with us tonight. And they stand alongside one of the first American flags ever to fly over our expanding nation. It was carried west just as Lewis and Clark began their journey in 1803. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Great to have you. Great to have you, to honor this audacious and indomitable soul of America. We also have the first flag ever to fly over one of the greatest architectural feats of all time. A thing called the Brooklyn Bridge, one of the most beautiful bridges anywhere in the world, built a long time ago. To its right, the banner that flew atop our flagship after America's Navy sank the Spanish fleet to the bottom of the Manila Bay, one of the greatest naval victories in history. Much like our recent victory by sinking the entire Iranian Navy, 159 ships, to the bottom of the sea, all done in just a moment's time, happened very quickly. We have the greatest military anywhere in the world. And next to it, we also have the flag that was given to Rough Rider, the one and only. I was at the museum the other day at its opening. Theodore Roosevelt, when he returned triumphant from Cuba, printed with the words, "Welcome home, Colonel Roosevelt," was a picture of San John Hill. He was a great gentleman. Americans won the West and built the modern world because America is a nation of winners. Today, our country is winning again, and we're winning like never before. America is back, and we want to keep America great. And we will do so by approving the Save America Act, which means all voters will show voter ID. All voters must provide a little democracy has been the greatest force for peace and justice on earth. In the last century, we defeated tyrants, demolished evil, and saved freedom again and again and again. Ken Shubrin was 19 years old when he survived yesterday's attack on Pearl Harbor. After enemy planes sank ships like the USS Arizona, he resolved that he would help America strike back, and when he won against it, strike back again. Flying B-29 in the Pacific, Ken fought from the first day to the very last. He was in the war right from the first day, and he went to the last day and all the way to the enemy's unconditional surrender. Unconditional surrender. He was there. At 104 years old and looking really good, Captain Shubrin is here tonight, and he is saluting the flag that went down with the Arizona at Pearl Harbor, but was raised back up with the help of some unbelievable American patriots. It's a symbol of American defiance. Please. Thank you, Captain. Thank you, Captain. Great job. Thank you very much. You have heard your news. That's the sun. The sun will be out. Thank you. On D-Day in World War II, Labor Day, Parker Rose commanded 36 landing craft as part of the largest naval armada in history. Before that site, he rode home to his parents. What a country we are. At 107 years old, Lieutenant Rhodes is here to salute one of our nation's most prized possessions, the flag that flew aboard the first landing craft on D-Day and led the first Americans onto the beaches of Normandy to liberate Europe and defeat Nazi fascism forever. Some of the most brutal combat in warfare. They shed their blood for every inch of ground that they reached. They raised the stars and stripes for all to see. It was so special. Everybody there. Everybody there. Everybody watching. They couldn't believe it. It wasn't supposed to happen. With us today is one of the last survivors of that 101-year-old Marine Corporal Don Graves. Here to salute that famous flag. He said, Iwo Jima 81 years ago. You've all seen that flag many times. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the fighters and the banners of the greatest generation. looked over my shoulder as I spoke. America will never be a communist country. Communism is a loser, and always will be. The communist system is the opposite of the American system. Our warriors did not fight communism on battlefields across the world, only to have that menace rear its ugly head right back. chambers of flight stand this evening beside the flag flown on the Wright brothers airplane, piloted by Orville Wright. The exact flag, very historic. Special gift for the Patriots this morning on America's 250th birthday. This flag was blown above the United States will soon be planted by American astronauts on their upcoming return to the moon. And in addition to that, I gave them and all of the great heroes that you saw up on the stage tonight and a few others that didn't quite make the stage. I gave them a very special medal from the White House. Thank you very much, everybody. So then I assume you're going to be heading to Mars. You're going to Mars. I think that's something that we're going to do the moon, and we're going to go from there to Mars. We're going to be way ahead, you know. We did Space Force. That was something I was very proud of. They go to a school and they find important things. We were losing to China and to Russia in space, and now we're leading them by Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. So as we celebrate America's unmatched achievements and unlimited potential, we never forget that none of this would have been possible without those who gave everything so that we could reach this 250th year of freedom. We are honored to be joined by 11 Gold Star family members. The Gold Star family, that is one of the great privileges, one of the great honors, tough honors. Nothing tougher than that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Come on up. They went through a lot. The next special person is looking up there and looking down. Mom and Dad, husband, wife, they're looking down in great pride. You know that. Special 4th of July, we give you our undying gratitude and promise to redeem the sacrifice of your heroes by preserving the America that they love. They love our country. Through hell. We love you. Everywhere the American flag is flying, symbol of strength, righteousness, and hope, because that is who Americans are. In 1944, a mother and a daughter huddled in their house in Nazi-occupied Belgium and prayed desperately for their country to be freed. They wanted freedom. As they waited, they found scraps of fabric stitched together, homemade American flag, when the day they were finally liberated, and that's what the word is, liberated, they gave it to an American soldier. Little did they know that that soldier's great-grandfather was Tonight, the next generation of the Key family is with us. As you, and I want to thank everybody. I love you all, and it's an honor to be your president. Thank you. God bless you all. God bless you. We have a great fireworks display tonight, and I'm going to be watching it with you. It's going to start very quickly, so thank you very much. You're going to really like this. Thank you very much, everyone.